The Buffalo Sabres Jekyll and Hyde act continues. Jesper Wallstedt is continuing to excel for the Minnesota Wild, while Winnipeg is 0-2 without their MVP. We'll also head out west to a desperation game in Western Canada. All that and more coming up on Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey, hockey fans, welcome into Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of all the night's action in the NHL during the regular season and the playoffs, whether it's one game or 16 or anything in between. We are always here with the latest for you. I'm riding solo tonight, but thanks for being with us. We are available, as a reminder, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Alex Wiederspiel with you. I write about hockey for Yardbark. I also hang here on Locked On NHL Game Night. I occasionally do some hockey play-by-play as well if I'm lucky. West Virginia is a tough place to find live hockey all the time. Here on Game Night, we've got all the latest on the goals, saves, big moments, and stories from the night in the NHL with a big assist from our Locked On local experts. We had a great night in the league, a great day really. It was an all-day affair for 6 games. We're going to get to all of them, and since we are officially entering the week of Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, we're going to tell a few things that we're thankful for, or I guess more accurately, a few things that the teams who played today should be thankful for. And we'll get to that coming up here in just a few minutes. First, though, want to start with the Minnesota Wild and the Winnipeg Jets. And this one, I always love when these two teams get together. It's physical. There's a real DNA and identity between these two that is hard to replicate in other places. Winnipeg coming in their second game without Connor Hellebuyck, and for Minnesota, after a rough start to the season, they have really started to come around and figure things out. Minnesota gets the win in this one, and once again, it's part and parcel Jesper Wallstedt, who had a phenomenal day, 32 saves, 28 at even strength, 4 on the power play, and nothing got by him as Minnesota improved to 12-4. Not a bad night for Eric Comrie, but he allows 3 goals on 30 shots. Danila Yurov scores his third, Brock Faber scored a shorty, and Kirill Kaprizov scored lucky number 13. Who else? Matt Zuccarello got an assist on that goal as well. Seth Topol has more on this one for the Locked On Minnesota Wild.
Not a stretch to say the Minnesota Wild are getting some of the best goaltending in the entire NHL as Jesper Wallstedt blanks the Winnipeg Jets 32 out of 32 saves for his 6th win of the season. He has 3 shutouts in his past 4 starts. He has given the Minnesota Wild an opportunity to get points in all 8 of his starts on the season as he's now 6-0-2. And the Minnesota Wild with back-to-back shutouts on the weekend. This Wild roster has given up 17 goals in the last 11 games, including 9 allowed in the last 8 games. The defense is playing well. The goaltending's been outstanding. This is a Minnesota Wild team that has found their way back towards the top of the standings. For more on the Minnesota Wild, make sure you follow Locked On Wild wherever you listen to your podcasts.
There was a minute this season where it felt like Minnesota and St. Louis were going to be the 2 obvious choices to fall out of contention in the Central Division. St. Louis has still not really figured it out. Minnesota has figured some things out. I still don't love their 5-on-5 play necessarily, but Jesper Wallstedt, if he's going to play like that, Minnesota's going to have a chance every single night. Winnipeg, interestingly enough, so if you look by the numbers, the Jets are going to be without Connor Hellebuyck for about a quarter of the season. 20 games, if you go with the conservative 6-week estimate for his surgery. They just need to keep pace. They had a nice start to the season, but they're 0-2 since Hellebuyck went out. We're going to have to see how this goes. But the one thing to be encouraged by, Winnipeg has been one of the worst 5-on-5 teams in the league this season. Excellent on the power play. excellent on the penalty kill, excellent in net. It's a great formula. It'll do the job for you, especially in the regular season. When your excellent elite goaltender is out, you have some cause for concern. Now, here's the thing. Eric Comrie's played pretty well this year in relief, but this is going to be the largest workload he's ever been asked to handle. He's only started 20 games once in his entire career. He's probably going to easily clear that as the starter for these next 20 games, excluding the few games that he's not in the net for when they occasionally give him a breather. They just brought up a 22-year-old from the AHL 5th-round pick in 2023. That being said, 0-2, not the start Winnipeg was looking for. I think the key here, though, is that with the 5-on-5 play looking better, that's a little bit better structure in front of your backup netminder, who's now your starter. So tough loss in division, no points, but some signs to be encouraged by. They won the high danger chance battle pretty easily, and it wasn't just score effects. They were doing it when the game was tied as well. All right, we're going to go and jump on over to the island where New York hosted the Seattle Kraken, coming all the way across. And this was a good one and included some really big high danger chances right at the end of this game. Ryan Pulock with a tremendous play right at the end to preserve what looked like was going to be a almost an open net high danger opportunity in the final seconds. He breaks up, erases a potential shot that could have potentially given Seattle a regulation win had that gone in. Instead, goes to overtime, eventually goes to the shootout. Islanders come from behind in the shootout, get the job done. They get the 2 points, win 1-0. Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders has the final word.
The New York Islanders score a dramatic 1-0 shootout win over the Seattle Kraken. This game had everything except goals. Don't tell me a 0-0 game can't be exciting, because the Islanders and the Kraken played a very good game. Both Joey Daccord of Seattle and David Rittich of the Islanders were outstanding. The Islanders carried play for most of the game, but could not solve Daccord until the shootout, when Bo Horvat scored to keep it alive in round 3 and Kyle Palmieri netted the game winner. A very crisp game by the Islanders, especially defensively, but they've got to work on their finishing if they hope to continue to keep their strong play alive. But you take the 1-0 win and a strong game overall for the New York Islanders.
All right. As always, thanks, Gil. And worth noting here that while admittedly there were moments in this game that I thought the Islanders were clearly the better team, and as Gil pointed out, they were carrying the kind of rate of play and possession. Seattle looked pretty good in the third period, and from a high danger perspective, it was pretty tight, actually. So I was not expecting Seattle to be this good. They are finding ways to accumulate points. The return of Brandon Montour has been a huge boon for this team, and I think Matty Beniers seems to have taken a step forward. Shane Wright appears to be continuing to take small steps forward as well. Seattle doesn't look like they're going to be the doormat. Actually, these are two teams who are kind of projected to be doormats. Doesn't really look like that's going to be the case, at least with the way things have started. And we're going to wrap up our first segment with the hottest team in hockey. And the only thing that's odd is that they have slowed down a little bit in their scoring, because arguably the best line in hockey is that McKinnon, Nietzsche's, Lehkonen line for the Colorado Avalanche. They're held off the board again in this one, at least as Colorado wins the 1-0 final score. Cale Makar with the lone goal in this game over the Chicago Blackhawks, and back-to-back shutouts in back-to-back games on back-to-back nights for the Colorado Avalanche. So all of us not allowing much, which is an encouraging sign. Again, Colorado is my preseason Stanley Cup pick, and I have every reason to feel great about it. They have one regulation loss, that loss on the road. Let's hear from Locked On Avalanche's Chris Maselli for the final word on Colorado.
So how would the Colorado Avalanche follow up a shutout win in Nashville on Saturday? They'd followed it up with a shutout win in Chicago on Sunday. Both goalies, the Lumberyard, each get their first shutout of the season. And this one was just a fun game, a 1-0 victory for the Avalanche. So no empty netters in this one. And give credit to Chicago. They played a very good hockey game. The first period for the Avalanche was a slog. Not the best period for them. Chicago outshot them 11-2. the second period, the Avs just flipped everything around. Maybe they just needed to get their legs going after just playing a game less than 23 hours earlier, if you must know. And the second period, turned that thing around. They outshot Chicago 18-1, but they only had a lone goal to show for it. It was an incredible against the body release, wrist shot release from Cale Makar, which was just an incredible goal. But that's all they could get past Spencer Knight. So this was a very good defensive game by your goalies on both ends. And in the end, Scott Wedgwood, he gets his first shot of the season. So a back-to-back is, nobody likes back-to-backs. Nobody likes road back-to-backs. And the fact that the Avalanche didn't give up a single goal in either game just continues to impress this season so far. It's the 9 in a row now for the Avalanche. So things just continue to go exceptionally well for them. But the power play is still terrible. If they get that thing going, what do you say? Watch out. You're already watching out for the Avalanche because they're just continuing to win games. But man, what a fun weekend if you're a Colorado Avalanche fan, not giving up a single goal in a back-to-back.
3 games in that first segment, 4 shutouts. And of course, that's because the Islanders and Kraken went to a shootout scoreless. Let's quickly hear from Jack Bushman of Locked On Chicago Blackhawks.
Blackhawks had a much improved performance compared to their last outing on Friday in Buffalo, but sadly just weren't able to solve Scott Wedgwood as he shuts out the Hawks for the second time in his last 3 starts against them as the Blackhawks fall 1-0 to the Colorado Avalanche, the top team in the NHL, and in the first and third periods in particular, the second period not so much. The Blackhawks got the better of the NHL's top club, and if they play like that, as head coach Jeff Blashill said after the game, more times than not, they're going to come away with victories. Had a lot of chances, more so early on in the contest. I thought the Avs did a good job of shutting them down late in this game and not really giving up any dangerous looks. But sadly, the losing streak has extended to 3 games for the Blackhawks. They'll return to action next on Wednesday against the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, going to be a critical time to see how they respond here. Chicago, this is the first little bit of adversity they've had in the season here. And again, people forget that is a young team. All right, so we are going to go out west in our next segment coming up. We're also going to talk about the Jekyll and Hyde Buffalo Sabres. Stick around. All that and more coming up on Locked On NHL Game Night. Our show brought to you in part today by our friends over at Game Time. Hockey season is officially here. Nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. Let's be real, though. Getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Now, I love that what you see is what you pay. No hidden fees at checkout. That's probably the most important thing for me. I can see exactly what my view is going to look like as well before the tickets get purchased with the in-app seat view feature. That's an amazing feature. Game changer. The other game changer, though, the zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, you save big. You can find NHL tickets for under $25 sometimes. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Okay, Buffalo and Carolina, and the Sabres continue to be Jekyll and Hyde. And I said this, I host a high school football show in my day job, a high school football radio show. And I said this in my day job about a team that had been a 14 seed that upset a 3 seed and was really unexpected. And the 3 seed in the town I live in, no less. But for the 14 seed, you can be Jekyll or you can be Hyde, but you never want to be both because you have to decide which one is the one you want to be. Do you want to be buttoned up Dr. Jekyll? Do you want to be analytical? Do you want to be smart and intelligent? Or, this is pro sports. Would you rather be the beast? Because after all, sometimes being Hyde, the Florida Panthers are Hyde, but that's their identity. They do it well. Buffalo's been a little of both this year, and I don't know that you necessarily want that, but kudos to the Sabres. They actually hung with the Carolina Hurricanes for the most part in this one. The Canes do their normal normal stuff. They win the possession battle, but in terms of the quality chances, it was right on the money at 5-on-5. Hurricanes slight edge at 5-on-5, and that's the thing. We talk about like formulas for winning. If you can avoid getting dominated by Carolina, you're going to have a chance, especially because, again, I'm not overly sold on Carolina's goaltending year in and year out. Buffalo wins this one 4-1 and getting 2 assists from Ryan McLeod. He's had a really strong season for them, and that's been a really good pickup for them. They just haven't been able to put it all together, despite the fact that McLeod has been as good as he is. Alex contract situation could be coming to a head. Scores the first goal in this one. Tage Thompson gets the empty netter. Jack Quinn and Beck Malenstein also score in this one. That's a lot of speed between those guys. My goodness. For the final, the Buffalo Sabres get the win, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, 67 save percentage. It has been sort of a rough up and down season when he's actually been available and on the ice. Luukkonen has not been great. He was everything he needed to be tonight as Buffalo gets the job done. All right. One other just quick on the Buffalo Sabres. Like I hate to put it this way, but like I'm not rooting for anybody. I mean, I am a Rangers fan, but I'm not. But like if I'm rooting for Buffalo a little bit, right? As a Jets fan, as a New York Jets fan, I feel like a kindred spirit with the Buffalo Sabres, the two teams with the longest playoff drought in North American sports. Right now, looks like they're both going to extend it. The Jets certainly are. What about the New York Jets? What about the Buffalo Sabres? We'll see. Let's go out west to wrap up tonight's games. There were 2 games in the Pacific time zone. San Jose and Boston will start there as the Sharks come away with a win. And again, kudos to San Jose. Look, no one is going to confuse them with like an elite team. No one is going to confuse San Jose necessarily with a playoff team. And I feel that way about Boston as well. But this is, compared to where they were a year ago, this is a very competent team. Part of that is Macklin Celebrini with his 14th goal of the season. They added, of course, NHLers on the back end. That proved to be useful today. Dmitry Orlov picking up his 13th assist. 2-point night for Celebrini. I did think Boston was going to make a game of it when terrific shift kind of got San Jose in the spin cycle a little bit. David Pastrnak, gorgeous backhand pass to set up Morgan Geekie, who just, it almost felt, because Geekie's been so good, right? And it's absurd, 17 goals in 24 games for him now. But Pastrnak, the old trope about a player so good that he essentially banks it in off of a guy, that's almost what this felt. You got to go back and watch this goal. The Pastrnak assist is absolutely disgusting on this play. Ultimately, San Jose gets the win, 3-1 the final. Let's hear from JD Young from Locked On San Jose Sharks.
Yaroslav Askarov's dominance continues as the Sharks win 3-1 over the Boston Bruins. Askarov continues to do Yaroslav Askarov things with 34 saves on 35 shots. As the Sharks, they held on in this game, as we've seen from them in multiple times throughout the season, but continue to find ways to win games. Askarov has been absolutely outstanding, one of the best goalies in the month of November, and continued his strong play tonight. The Sharks got 2 points from Celebrini, but the bottom 6 tonight, Colin Graff, Ty Dellandrea, Adam Gaudette, the third line, I think was the difference for San Jose as they were able to grind out a win and against a good Boston Bruins team, as now the Sharks are now 1 point out of a playoff spot. We'll break down this game on your next episode of Locked On Sharks, wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well.
Thanks, JD. And Askarov right now is top 10. He's number 9, right behind Igor Shesterkin, who's been kind of scuffling, to borrow Eddie's word, of late. Askarov is number 9 by Money Puck's goals saved above expected. Done that in 14 games, 9.1 goals saved above expected. Again, you're never going to find a perfect analytic in hockey. I if we have time at the end of the show, I'll get into. I have some analytics takes because I'm a big analytics guy, but I also get frustrated by them. But generally speaking, Askarov's been good. He stopped 34 of 35 shots tonight, and they needed him. They really did. He is taken a pretty big step forward, it appears, and regular playing time has been a big deal. Let's give the final word on this game to Ian McLaren of Locked On Boston Bruins.
Boston Bruins end their California road trip with a loss to San Jose. And look, it's very difficult to get sustained momentum and pressure going when you are going to the penalty box quite regularly, and the Bruins gave San Jose 6 power play opportunities. They limited them to only 1 power play goal, but you just can't overtax your penalty killers like that and then expect to get sustained offensive pressure in the midst of all that. And when they did get that pressure, Yaroslav Askarov of the San Jose Sharks was well up to the task. Only Morgan Geekie, with his league-leading 17th goal of the season, was able to beat him. The Bruins losing to the Ducks, they beat the Kings, they lose to the Sharks, and just continuing to struggle here without some of their key players in the lineup, despite Elias Lindholm making his return after 3 weeks off due to injury. They'll try to regroup and get it going later this week.
All right, and one last game to get to tonight, Calgary and Vancouver. This was the national game in Canada, and I'm sure they would have liked a better one. A 3-assist night, though, who was thrilled with what they got was Calgary and their coach Ryan Huska. Rasmus Andersson, +4, 3 assists. Blake Coleman got a goal and an assist in this one. The Flames outwork Vancouver in seemingly every conceivable way, and I think we have to really start asking the question. The Flames have not caught the Canucks yet by points or points percentage, but are the Canucks actually the worst team in Canada right now? Are the Canucks actually the worst team maybe in the NHL right now? They are struggling, and Calgary goes on the road, goes to Vancouver, outworks Vancouver. And I thought, again, this is where I think coaching is such a big deal. And I get Vancouver, first time coach and kind of going motions a little bit right now. And they got on the board first. They got on the board a minute and 5 seconds into this one with Philip Hronek, who I think has been maybe their best player outside of Quinn Hughes. Certainly when Quinn Hughes was coming off of that injury and was a little slow getting back into the thick of things, Hronek was their best player. He scores his second tonight. It was all Calgary after that. They went 5 straight. Morgan Frost, Connor Zary, Kevin Ball, Yegor Sharangovich, and Blake Coleman. That one was a shorty. And the thing was, a lot of those goals done a couple of different ways. You had goals off of redirections and deflections. It looked like that was a big part of the Calgary game plan tonight. And they got Kevin Lankinen very clearly uncomfortable creating rebounds in sort of short areas. And that's how they scored the second goal. The Connor Zary goal was essentially a point blank one where they got Lankinen a little bit uncomfortable in the way that he was moving. This was a rough one for Vancouver, and I have not been impressed with their play all season long. If not for Kiefer Sherwood, I think we'd be talking about Vancouver much the same way that we had been talking about the Calgary Flames. Look, the Flames are 8-13-3, which means they've only won a third of the games they've played this season. I don't think anyone's going to confuse them with a playoff team, especially with a pending trade of Rasmus Andersson coming at some point this season. But these guys haven't quit on their coach. Their coach has actually done a pretty good job. For every Flames game that I watch, I come away thinking to myself, Ryan Huska's got these guys playing. They're playing hard, and they're playing within the confines of the structure. There's just not enough talent there. So I'm starting to wonder, does Calgary get back into the race a little bit here? Maybe they're not good enough to really compete, but at least get back into the race. We'll talk more about that coming up. In the next segment, I'm going to tell you what every one of these teams, that's right, even Vancouver, should be thankful for. That coming up here on the other side of this break, right here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Our show brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, lessons learned, not this time. No, we're going to say what we're thankful for. What each team should be thankful for, I guess, is more accurate. We are in American Thanksgiving. Canadian fans are ironically going to be the first to get to hear what their teams should be thankful for. And I guess that's because you guys celebrated Thanksgiving 5-6 weeks ago. Let's start with the Vancouver Canucks, who, I get it, it's been a rough stretch for Vancouver. They're now down to 9-12-2 on the season. It has been ugly, ugly, ugly. I actually wrote about the Canucks for Yard Barker about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, about it's probably time to rip the Band-Aid off of the Quinn Hughes situation. And I have a lot of thoughts on the Canucks that for now I'm going to set aside and save for another time because it's just not we don't have the time to get into all of it. And this is supposed to be a segment about what we're thankful for. Let's give a little thanks to Elias Pettersson, who is starting to heat up a little bit. His last 5 games, he has scored, and they have needed him to score, but 4 consecutive multi-point games coming into this one for Elias Pettersson. So before tonight, he had 9 points in 5 games, perhaps starting to find where he was. And look, this is not going to be the same team once Quinn Hughes inevitably does get traded, but there is a possibility that if Elias Pettersson can come out of this funk, we all saw the player that he once was, can come out of this funk, the other side, that perhaps what they get back for Quinn Hughes can help spur whatever it is they're going to do in the future around Elias Pettersson. Let's talk about the Calgary Flames, and I think absolutely should be thankful for Ryan Huska. The guy has got them playing hard. I think there were reasons to believe that he could be the first coach fired, but the reality is the problem in Calgary is not the coach. The problem in Calgary, the reason they're losing games, is haven't been good enough. Their finishing is not good enough, and their goaltending to start the season was not good enough. It has taken steps forward over the course of these last few weeks. So Calgary, I don't know that necessarily I'm going to sit around here and say that there's a chance that they could do the improbable and get back into the race. But right now, as of this moment, by points percentage, they are no longer the worst team in the NHL. And Vancouver, by the way, right on their tail, having lost 3 straight of their own, including tonight. The San Jose Sharks, well, I guess you should be thankful for drafting a number 1 overall pick that was worth the number 1 overall pick. This is a story that we're going to be seeing all year. We saw it when San Jose played the New York Rangers. It's very much on my mind as a Rangers fan. Some years, the number 1 overall pick isn't very good. Some years, he's just okay. Some years, he's very good. And some years, he's absolutely elite. And I think San Jose got the latter of that, and that will make ultimately all the difference for the Sharks. The Boston Bruins should be thankful for David Pastrnak. That guy is a human highlight reel. And again, listen, nothing against Morgan Geekie. It was a high skill play to score the goal the way he did. It was essentially a one-timer with a guy draped over him at point blank range. But it also, if you watch the play closely enough, there's a little bit of Pastrnak just kind of bounced it in off of a guy vibe. So Boston should be thankful for David Pastrnak. That dude is still phenomenal. The Carolina Hurricanes, what should they be thankful for? A lot, honestly. They should be thankful for Rod Brindamore. They should be thankful for a system that the guys who are there continue to buy into. And the question is, with the East this wide open this year, does that change the calculus at all for Carolina? Do they take another big swing like they have in recent years? They can be thankful for a GM who's at least been willing to take those big swings, even though I disagreed with how he handled the Mikko Rantanen situation in the end. I think they could have used Rantanen in the playoffs last year, regardless of if he wanted to stay or not. The Buffalo Sabres should be thankful for Ryan McLeod. And really, I get it. Kevin Adams is under fire, and rightfully so, with this Buffalo team. But the one thing I'll give Adams a lot of credit for, he has built a team that can play with pace and speed. That's what guys like Beck Mallenstein and Ryan McLeod do. The Sabres' issue is most definitely not the ability to play with the fastest teams in the NHL. They've got other issues, but they should be thankful for the team speed. Ryan McLeod, one of those speed demons. The Chicago Blackhawks should be thankful that Connor Bedard grew up. Connor Bedard grew up. That's it. They didn't get the win tonight, and that's okay. But the Chicago Blackhawks have a clear dominant player. This was from the start of this season. I thought to myself, I see Bedard on the Jack Hughes path. By year 3, as he starts developing into a man's body in a man's game, you're going to see this guy's skills really pop. And don't forget, this kid as an 18 and a 19-year-old scored big numbers. You don't just do that. You're able to translate that eventually, but he needed to find A, some teammates, B, some goaltending. Spencer Knight, number 1 by Money Puck's goals saved above expected. And lastly, he needed to bulk up a little bit. He's done all of those things. The Colorado Avalanche should be thankful for, I guess, everything, but really they should be thankful for Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland. Those guys have had a clear vision of how they wanted to build the Avalanche. They took it on the chin for the trade of Mikko Rantanen. And I have to be honest with you, from the start, I thought it was a good decision. Not because Rantanen's not a great player, not because the Moose is not a clear clutch playoff player, but because we had watched a sample size develop of what Colorado had done with their 3 superstars together. And they said to themselves, maybe if with Landeskog coming back, with Nichushkin coming back, with Lehkonen continuing to become an even better player than he already is, maybe we can recreate Mikko Rantanen in the aggregate. But the one thing that we can't do is we cannot figure out what to do about the bottom of our lineup. We can't afford to fix it. And that's exactly what they did. Marty Necas, again, we talk about rebuilding in the aggregate. He has been tremendous on that team, plays with the speed and identity the Avalanche want to play with. And between everything else they've done, when you look at who their goaltenders were a year ago, remember, that was a Colorado team last year that lost 20 of its first 49 games. They were 29, 20, and 0. They were one of the best teams down the stretch because they completely overhauled their goaltending midseason. Look at what those 2 goaltenders, the Woods, Blackwood and Wedgwood, did. No goals allowed, 0 goals on, I think it's 58 shots on back-to-back days. Good for them. The New York Islanders should be thankful for the same thing the Sharks are thankful for, drafting a number 1 overall pick in the right year to draft a number 1 overall pick. Matthew Schaefer has been terrific to watch this season. The Seattle Kraken should be thankful for expectations because they were low and they are clearing a pretty low bar at the moment. They should also be thankful for Brandon Montour. That guy is really a huge difference maker in their offense when he's on the ice, 5-on-5 and the power play. He is a difference maker for the Kraken. Their offense is much worse when he's not available. The Winnipeg Jets should be thankful that it's only a 6-week injury for Connor Hellebuyck. It's not been a great start for them. They do look like they're playing a little bit better at 5-on-5, but the reality is this might actually be a secret boon for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuyck coming back and being not only fully healthy, but also for the first time in 5 years, not having played more than 60 games and leading the league in games started. I actually think that might help the guy who clearly has been worn down in the postseason the last couple of years with his .870 postseason save percentage, just like 50 points lower than his regular season save percentage in that time. And finally, the Minnesota Wild should be thankful for patience. Jesper Wallstedt did not have the straightest path to the NHL. Once a top-tier premier goalie prospect, he had some up and down seasons in the AHL, and they didn't lose faith, and they're being rewarded for it now. The Minnesota Wild can be thankful for their own organizational patience. And with that, we're done for the night. If you want complete coverage of your favorite NHL team, there is a Locked On NHL Team podcast and YouTube show for you because we've got one for every NHL team. This show, Locked On NHL Game Night, is here for you each and every night of the regular season and playoffs, wrapping up the night in the NHL. Shukri Wrights and Eddie Garcia, of course, also co-hosts who join the show regularly. They'll be back with us as the week progresses, and we might be adding a new co-host soon. Exciting. Don't forget to like and subscribe this show if you're watching on YouTube. We want to see your thoughts on tonight's games in the comment section. As a fan, what are you thankful for heading into American Thanksgiving? And if you're a Canadian who's like, hey, that already happened, I don't care. Tell me what you're thankful for about your team or about hockey in general. We're going to keep it upbeat. It's a holiday week. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Alex Wiederspiel. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in America, your team every day.